Hello and welcome back everyone to our Lunch and Learn session. I'm joined on stage with Ellie's CEO and founder, Ben Buckwold, who will be walking you through a deep dive into Ellie's platform and all its features. Hopefully you will all find something helpful, maybe learn something new in this session that you don't already know about Ellie's platform. So thanks, Ben. Thanks for being here and we're excited for your session.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to see you back here 10 minutes or 5 minutes before the end, right? For the prizes and the questions. Okay, great. See you, Lise. Thank you, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. It's a lot going on. There's so many great sessions, and I've been having such a great time in the chat, meeting and speaking with all of you. So hope you're having a great day so far. So today in this session, I'm really just going over some sort of tips and tricks about Ellii, how to use the platform and how to get the most out of it. A lot of you are already subscribers to the platform. Some of you may not be, but I think maybe joining at some point. So I want to show you how the platform works. And I think this is going to be, I hope, beneficial for both people who are already subscribers and people who have never used the platform before. Just a bit of background on Ellii and the platform itself. As I was mentioning in the opening, we've been around since 2002. I taught English in Japan from 1997 until 2002 for 5 years, just outside of Tokyo. If anybody knows the city of Fujisawa or Chigasaki, that's where I was living in Kanagawa and teaching English there. And during those years in 97, 98, 99, a lot of us teachers, we'd be desperate for content, for materials, and we'd be looking for stuff online. And there wasn't a lot of that stuff out there at the time. We'd go onto these boards. It was like pre-Google. We'd go onto these forums like on Yahoo and other, I forget the name of some of these other boards. And we'd look for stuff. Dave's ESL Cafe, if you remember that. Put a note in the chat if you remember Dave's. It's still around and still thriving, but back then it was a lifesaver. And so I launched this platform in 2002. I had created a few lessons that I thought were worthy of putting online and that somebody might pay for, and started it as a subscription-based platform. But there was only a few lessons at the time. And primarily the focus was on images like flashcards and things like that you could print out easily, because I would often try to draw images for the classroom and I was not very good at drawing. So I hired an artist to create the flashcards, and I called the platform ESL Images. And very quickly over the course of that year, started developing a lot more lessons, and quickly that library grew. And there were now many, many lessons on the site. And so we changed the name from ESL Images to ESL Library. It was still just a one-person show at that time, so I shouldn't say we changed the name. I changed the name. And gradually we grew over the 21 years that we've been around. We grew from one person to 2 to 3 to 4, and just gradually every year we just grew a little bit more and a little bit more, to the point where we're now 21 years into this. And the library itself, the content library, has expanded really substantially. I think there's around 2,000 lessons on the platform now, and more than 300 videos on the platform. And we've also evolved from just being a printable PDF-based platform where you could print and photocopy to also being a platform for digital interactive content as well that you can assign to your students on their own devices. So it's a little bit of a background on the company itself. As I mentioned also in the opening, we're not venture capital backed. We're not backed by big funding. Almost all of our growth has come organically from teachers telling teachers. So I want to thank everybody here who has sort of spread the word about Ellii. It means a great deal to us to have been able to grow in that way through word of mouth. It's a really special thing, and we feel really close and connected with the people who use our platform. So I'm going to use this time right now to show you some things about Ellii, maybe some new features that you haven't seen before. We're also going to try a new feature that we haven't even launched yet. I don't know how it's going to go because we've never used it before, and we're going to try it publicly right now, or in a few minutes anyways. And it's not meant to be done with like 300 or 400 people at the same time. I think there's 376 people in the session right now. It's really meant for like small classes or a class of 30 or less. So I don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to try it. You're going to help us test this thing that we're trying out. Okay, so one more thing. I noticed that some people were having trouble seeing some things on some presentations. There is a thing in the top right corner, it's like a square with 4 arrows pointing in all 4 directions. If you click that, you'll lose this beautiful blue background with the robot guy behind me, but you'll get a bigger view of the screen. So if you're having trouble seeing and you want to zoom in a bit, you can click that. All right. As well, I'm going to try to look at the comments over here on the side. If you cannot hear the audio when I do present it, please let me know in the chat. I was having one issue before, but I think it's resolved. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to bring up Ellii. Oh, yeah, I've got to share my screen first. All right, share entire window. Always a little dangerous to share the entire window, but I'm going to do it. 1 minute here. Please bear with me, everyone. Just a couple more seconds. Okay. Okay, you're going to see like a whole bunch of repeating mirroring images here until I get this out of the way. All right. Do you see just my Ellii page right now? Because I'm sort of multitasking here with a couple things. Do you see the Ellii page which says ElliiCon kicks off with the yellow thing? Do I have a yes there? Okay, cool. And now it's back to the other. Okay, awesome. So right now I'm on our Discover page. Our Discover page is a place, I'm logged in as a teacher, by the way, and our Discover page is a page that is updated every couple of days. We list or we note here things that are trending, events that are happening, like up here, ElliiCon is the primary featured banner right now. But if something is trending in the news, we might have a big feature presentation about that, because we might have a lesson about that. If a holiday is coming up, maybe it's Valentine's Day coming up. I know that's a long way away. I don't know why that holiday just popped into my head, but if it is, there might be a collection of lessons on Valentine's Day up here at the top. So new and featured content lives here on our Discover page, and you can get there from right here from Discover right there. Sometimes we'll put in some like must-see materials that have been trending or that are popular that you may not know about. We always sort of feature some discussion starters. We think that discussion and debate and dialogue in the classroom is really important. So we put a lot of emphasis on those types of lessons if you're teaching older teens or adults. So this is just some highlights of some new or featured lessons. AI generated content here is a great topic to discuss with your students. So this page here is really about what's new, what's trending, what's interesting here, and it changes every couple of days. You can use the Discover page for that purpose. Up under materials here, we've got a lot of different types of materials, but primarily we've got lessons and we've got resources, videos, and flashcards. And these other things here, study packs and collections, are like groups of those types of content. So lessons, flashcards, videos, and resources. Lessons are full, comprehensive lessons with all sorts of tasks, answer keys that you can administer to your students. Resources are more like assessments or games or warm-ups. They're not complete lessons, but they're fillers or they're extra materials that you might find useful. Videos, if you were watching earlier, we've got a large library of videos and flashcards. Pretty much anything you'd find in a picture dictionary, you're going to find right there. So let me go ahead and click into our lesson section first. So I'm under lessons, and before this was the only way that you could find content. You would just go to lessons. We sort of separated everything by genre. So one genre is discussions and debates, and within that genre, we have 2 sections, discussion starters and mini debates. These are great, as I said, for adults or for older teens at higher levels, intermediate or above. Grammar is another genre with a bunch of different sections like grammar practice worksheets or true grammar stories. Young learners and adult literacy. So this would be sections based around very, very low level materials, things like phonics, phonics stories, word bank readers, picture stories, these types of things. English for newcomers. These are things like functional English, like just basic things like apologizing or asking for instructions and things like that, or giving instructions. Also everyday dialogues like going to the bank, going to the post office, making an appointment, as well as role plays and health matters. So those are all under English for newcomers. Academic and business English. So these would be things like functional business, reading in English, writing in English. Reading and discovery, I love this section, or I love this genre. It's got lots of great sections in it: famous people, famous places, famous things. We've had these since way back in 2003. I think it was one of the first new sections that we launched on the site, Famous People. And these are great ways for you to present material to your students where they're reading about famous people or places around the world, and they try to comprehend those readings and then explain to other students in the class what they read and share that knowledge and have a discussion about it. Holidays and travel, so travel English or holidays and events. And these English storylines, these are based on like idioms and expressions that are put into the form of like a soap opera, where every lesson is a continuation of another story or of that story, and you have to sort of follow the storyline along. So these are fun too. I'm going to go ahead and click into one of these sections, the section that I love the most, discussion starters. Again, if you're teaching young learners, this might not be the right section for you, but if you're teaching teens and adults, it's a great section. And by the way, I will also show a little bit of the younger learner materials as well. So in here, there's subcategories like environment, education, business. So you see, like once you click into a section, there's many subsections as well. Community, crime and punishment. Sometimes we have really serious topics and sometimes really, really light topics that are fun and silly. And we leave it to you as the teacher to decide, what's appropriate for my students in my class. What would be the best to engage them, and also what is the best for their level, their age, and appropriateness. So there's more topics here like money, athletes' salaries, dream jobs, minimum wage, food, so diets and food labels, and ocean garbage, health matters like burnout and cleanliness, face masks, flu shots, pandemics, surrogacy, all sorts of different topics that you can find here. You might find something that's relevant and fun for your students, and we're always constantly adding new material to this site. So one particular lesson that I like a lot, that I think is kind of universal, that we can all talk about, I got to find it here, is distracted driving in the crime and punishment section, because you can get a lot of tickets for that. You can also really hurt people with distracted driving. And I think we can all relate to this in some way nowadays. So I think it's a great topic. So when I click into a lesson here, you'll see that most of the time we have two different ways of viewing the lesson or administering the lesson. You can administer it as a PDF, printed and photocopied for your students, or you can launch digital and interactive tasks, which you can present interactively to your students on the whiteboard or on the overhead projector, but also assign to your students on their own devices. So if you have an account at Ellii, you have student accounts included with that you can assign these digital tasks to them to do on their own devices. So if I were to open up this PDF here, I'm not going to go into the details of the content really right now. We have another session tomorrow where we dive a little bit deeper into the content, but I'm just really trying to show you how the platform itself works. So this is the PDF here, starting with some pre-reading warm-up questions, vocabulary. There's a reading at an intermediate level about distracted driving, focusing on some of those keywords and expressions from the earlier task, comprehension questions, vocabulary review. Again, this is the PDF. I'll show the digital in a minute. Grammar review. And we always end this lesson with usually with a discussion and a critical thinking. So by the end of that lesson, students get into pairs or groups, and they have to discuss in a more serious way what they, their opinions and some of what they've learned from the reading, and go into perhaps some sort of critical thinking task as well. Now, when you have a PDF up, and if there is a reading with that PDF, typically there will be audio down below that you can play. Let me see.
Distracted driving. Keep your eyes on the road.
I'm just going to jump back to here for a second. See, could you guys just put in the chat if you heard that audio? Just give me a yes real quick if you could hear that audio, or you couldn't. Yes, awesome. Okay, so that's working, so that's great. And on this PDF player, there's a couple things you can do with it. As you can see, we're in American spelling right now. We also have Canadian spelling and UK or British spelling. And so you can change that right here, and that changes the PDF. And as well, you can share this PDF with your students. You can copy the link and paste that into a Canvas or Moodle or Google Classroom or something like that. And as long as they have their accounts set up, it will jump them into their site, and they can print this page from home if you don't want to do it at your own school. And there's annotation tools as well, where you can draw on here. So if you guys did print things together, I don't know if that was the right answer, but I don't think it was, but you get the idea there. All right, now I also have digital and interactive versions of the tasks, and those can be accessed over here on the right, or pardon me, on the left, the task player. So I just was on the PDF before, but now I'm going to click to that computer icon. And you can see there's a bunch of different digital and interactive tasks. They're often the same tasks that you found in the PDF, but now they're in digital form where students can submit answers online. This one starts with a pre-reading video, a warm-up video, talks a little bit about distracted driving. But you get the idea that there are these digital and interactive questions. So I'm just going to drop these in here without actually reading any of them. I don't know how I'm going to do, but I'll bring up the answers here. I got 2 out of 5 correct, not bad for not reading that stuff. We can review our answers, see what we got right and what we got wrong, and go over them as a class. So you can use this tool right here. I'm just going to try that again, where you might be calling on students and asking them, not focused on something and calling on a student and ask which of these up here might be the right answer, or do it in the reverse and click on one of these, like behind the wheel, and then ask students to pick a number here, 1 to 5, and you'll put them in as a class. So lots of different digital types of activities. If you're doing reading with your students, you can present it just as is right here, and you can zoom in on the text itself, but you might also prefer to use our immersive reader tool. I don't know if you're using immersive reader at all. It's a cool tool. It's from Microsoft, and we've just embedded it into the readings that we have on the site. This is what immersive reader looks like. So it just takes the text and it just simplifies it and just presents it in a way that there's lots of options for your students. So over here, we've got some options for immersive reader. I can click on this sort of dictionary tool tip thing, and I've got some options here. I can choose translation. I'm not a big fan of translation in language learning, but it is there. That tool is there if you need it. So for example, you could click Danish here. I don't know if we have anyone from Denmark. If we do, put your name in the notes there. And maybe also tell us if this translation is correct. Now, if I click on distracted, here is that translation below. So we've also got ways where we can focus on just specific types or amounts of text at a time. So like 2 lines at a time. And let me clear that out. Whoops. And you can see we can just sort of go through 2 lines at a time. So lots of things that you can do with immersive reader. I always forget how to get out of that, though. I'll go back to the full thing, turn focus off. All right, and then as well, we can focus on specific parts of speech within immersive reader. So for example, if I only want to see verbs, I'll just click on verbs, and the verbs all show up right here in red. Or if I only want to see verbs and adjectives, adjectives are in green and verbs are in red. So there's a lot that you can do with the immersive reader tool as well. And your students can have access to that as well if you assign it to them. So all kinds of activities here. One that I really love is the personal response. If you assign it to your students, they get, whoops, a little, something stuck there with this image there. We'll have to fix that. But there is a record tool where students can record themselves giving their opinion, expressing their opinion about something, or answering some type of question here. So this is a question that you would assign to your students. Many people use Bluetooth technology to take phone calls in the car. Is this a form of distracted driving? Or is this no different from having a conversation with a passenger? Explain your opinion. And you would assign this to your students. They would get this on their own device. They would record themselves, and you could go ahead and listen to all the recordings that come back to your inbox. All right, so that is one type of lesson. Let's go ahead and look at one other type of lesson before we dive into some other features. Let's go and look at a lower level lesson. I really love our fun grammar lessons. They're great for young learners. We've got all kinds of grammar lessons for adults, for teenagers, for young learners. This is a section that's specifically designed for young learners. And we've made it really colorful and fun. And you've got all these subcategories like verbs and prepositions, modals, sentence construction. I'm going to go ahead and click on simple present, be verb. And again, you're already familiar with this type of option here, PDF or the task. So let's look at the PDF, just to give you sort of an idea of the difference in sort of age range from that last lesson that we looked at. It's a lot more colorful and a lot more fun. So they go through and learn the nationalities and some pronouns. There's a matching task, contractions, negative contractions. The other thing about our lessons is that they're quite comprehensive. So there's a lot of stuff there. You don't have to do all of this stuff, but it's all there for you, ready-made. If you just need to print and photocopy one section of this lesson, you can sort of pick and choose from it, or you can do the whole thing over a period of a couple of classes. And you can see here there's a pair work activity. We spend a lot of time developing paired and group activities. We think that's really important in language learning, to put your students into groups and pairs and have them work together on a particular assignment. So these information gaps are often found in our lessons on Ellii, or discussions are found on our lessons in Ellii. Pair work information gap, this is student A, and student A has some missing information, so he knows how old or what country Yuki, he does not know what country Yuki is from. And he does not know how old Bianca is from. But partner B, she knows here a little bit about that information. So they have to ask each other these questions to sort of get those answers. I might ask my partner, what country is Pablo from, Mexico or Brazil? And my partner would look at Pablo's answer here and say he's from Brazil, so I would circle the Brazilian flag here. So a lot of emphasis and focus on class interaction, student interaction, pair work, and group work activities. And in a digital version of this, it might look like this, where we might go over the countries with our students. Here's a slideshow presentation. What country is this? Mexico. Great. We can bring this up. We can play the audio.
Mexico.
All right. And we can go through them like that. We might do a matching task that's a little bit more fun than that other matching task that we looked at before. You can drop those in. So a lot of great activities for students that you can present on their own devices. And all of this, by the way, is responsive. So it will work nicely on their small devices, on their small phones. So that's a look at some different types of tasks, or different types of levels and different range of levels. Now, I meant to do something back with that discussion starter lesson, that distracted driving. I'm going to find it again by just typing in the search here, distracted driving. Probably only one thing comes up. There it is. I wanted to add it to a class too. So if I'm interested in this lesson, teach it, I can just add it right here into my class. So I'll click Add to Class. And I'm going to put it into my intermediate conversation class right here. I'm not sure if you could see that drop down or not in the screen share. Yeah, I think you can see that. Yeah. So I've already got my classes all set up. I put that into my intermediate conversation class. And then below, I've got some options. I can drop it into a saved folder, which is like something that I might do in the future. I don't know when I'm going to do it with this class, but I'm just going to put it into my saved folder within that class. Or I might put it into my prepping lane. And the prepping lane is like stuff that I'm ready to do soon, maybe tomorrow or later this week or early next week. But prepping is like stuff I'm getting ready to do in the near future. And the teaching lane here, if I drop it into the teaching lane, that will put it directly into the accounts of my students. They will have instant access to it. For the sake of this presentation, I'm going to drop it into my prepping lane and hit save right there. All right, so that's in there. Now there's some other ways to look for content as well. We've got collections right here. And collections are groups of content from all different areas of the site, different sections, different genres, different mediums, so flashcards and video and lessons all in one place. So I might go in and click into something like academic subjects. Maybe some of you are teaching in high school or middle school or something like this. And you might need something on, for example, science matters. So I'll go ahead and click into this. And here we found lessons from all these different sections, maybe famous people, famous places, from our everyday dialogue section. And it all is sort of combined here if it has a theme of science in some way. And you can drill down from the sidebar filters here. So you can see there are 586 lessons or results for science related stuff. But I want just something specific maybe to weather. So I'll click weather. And you can see that that filters down now to 50. We've got 50 materials or 50 lessons related to weather. And then once I find something here, let me just sort down to ELD3. I've set my levels, by the way, to the ELD levels, but you could also set them to the CEFR levels if you're teaching in Europe, or the CLB levels if you're teaching in Canada, for example. You can change those levels up. And when you find something that may be of interest to your students, you can just quickly go ahead and click into that lesson, and you've got instant access to it there. So that's another way to find materials as well. All right. Now, we have also recently introduced this new thing called study packs. And a lot of the materials all of the materials at Ellii are, one-off lessons. They're meant to be taught one at a time. But for a lot of teachers, that puts some burden on you to sort of figure out what you're going to teach next. And you have to constantly be determining what should I teach today and what should I teach that would be good to follow up what I taught yesterday. So we've recently introduced this new area here called study packs. Not sure if any of you have tried that out yet, but I'll go ahead and click on study packs. And we've just launched this recently, so there's only a few study packs in here right now, but we're adding more and more every week. So this is going to grow and expand, and we're going to add all sorts of different types of filters on here. But study packs are groups of like 4, 5, or 6 lessons that could all be sort of taught sequentially within 1 week or over the course of a few weeks as a sort of a mini course or a mini curriculum. So I'm going to go ahead and click into here. There's one that I saw here earlier, innovation, something about tech here. Where did that go? Tech Talk. So I'm doing this conversation class for adults, and they've been interested in talking about technology and stuff. I went into this Tech Talk study pack, and you can see down below that there are 6 lessons here, talking to technology, the metaverse, human genetic engineering, classrooms of the future, net neutrality, and AI-generated content. So there's big level topics, but they're really interesting, and they're really interesting for that sort of higher level conversation class that I'm having with my adult class. And so in just one click, I can add all 6 of these lessons to that class. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into my intermediate conversation class, and I'll go ahead and put it right into the prepping lane too. I want to teach this soon, or I want to assign it soon. All right. So that's now in my classes. So let's take a look now at what it looks like for your classes. By the way, one thing I'm doing that's maybe not good is I'm not seeing the chat. But I'm going to come back to the chat later. Maybe it's best to not look at it right now and get distracted. But we'll have time at the end for some questions if our staff are not able to answer some of your questions in the chat. All right, so I added that to my class. I'm going to go ahead and click to my classes. And I'm now in my classroom area where I've got multiple classes. I've got different classes. I've got this 4th grade elementary school class that I'm teaching. I've got a CLB, Canadian Language Benchmark 3-4 level class that I'm teaching, a grammar practice class that I'm teaching, and an intermediate conversation class. That's the one I've sort of been focusing a lot on today. So I'll go ahead and click into that. And you can see here I've got this sort of Kanban board where I've got an overview of everything that's happening in my class. These are all the lessons that I've taught before to this class. So this is what we did last week, automation, and the week before we did space tourism. The week before that, we did Bermuda Triangle. So this is the stuff I've done in the past. Teaching is the stuff that I'm doing right now. This is what my students see when they log in. They'll have immediate view to this lesson. They can still see the past lessons, but they're out of the way. They only really see this front and center, this driverless cars lesson. And over here, this is the stuff, they don't see any of this stuff. This is the stuff that I want to teach soon or next. And down here are the saved items that I've put into my bucket for later. So I found some of these lessons and I'm interested in doing them in the future sometime, but I'm just not sure when I want to do them with my students. At some point, I moved them into that saved folder there. So this is sort of like an overview of my class. And we think that, that taking the time to plan and prepare your lessons is really important. The more time you spend sort of thinking about what do I want to do next, the more focused you're going to be on the whole class and the whole course as a whole. But that could be time consuming and tricky and stuff. So we've tried to make it really simple for you and really fun and easy and enjoyable to plan your lessons. So I just put that distracted driving lesson into my prepping lane earlier, as you saw. I'm going to go ahead and move it up to the top because I want to teach that next week. And this study pack, I'm not sure when I want to do it. I can click this drop down to remind myself what was in that study pack. But I can just sort of change the order of what I want to teach and when I want to teach it. And then next time I log in, I remember, oh yeah, it was distracted driving that I wanted to do next. But study pack I do want to actually assign today because I want to show you how that works as well. Okay, so Let me go ahead and click over to another screen here. I'm assuming you can see the screen behind here as well. Can everybody, I'm going to go back to my chat for a second. Can everybody see both screens to win? Yes, okay, cool. All right, so this view right here is another window here, and this is something, this is going to be a student. So I'm going to log in, as a student. So I'll go ahead and click as a student. So I'm logging in as a student, and I've got a student account set up here. Amir, and the login is all done here. So I'm logged in. He's only in one of my classes, so he only sees one class card there. If he was in a couple of my classes, he might see a couple of these kind of like business card sort of icons across this canvas here, where he would see the different classes and be able to click into them. So he's going to go ahead and click into that class. And as you can see, this is what he sees here when he's logged in. He's got his current assignments, his past assignments, and media. That's any like flashcards and videos that I've assigned to him in the past. They're always going to live in media. If they're due right now, they're also going to live in current as well. But you can see that driverless cars is assigned, and that's what's in my teaching lane. So I'll go ahead and move distracted driving in there. And the moment that I move distracted driving into the teaching lane, I'll click refresh here. It shows up. So the next time my student logs in, it's just right there, ready for him, for Amir right here to access and to start focusing on, right? It's right there, front and center, and you can go and do all those activities that I was showing you earlier. There's the reading with the immersive reader that we saw. There's that personal response. I might actually just do this personal response right now while I'm here. So many people use Bluetooth technology to take phone calls in the car. Is this a form of distracted driving, or is this no different from having a conversation with a passenger? Explain your response. I'll go ahead and record. I think it is almost the same, actually. Sometimes when I'm talking to the person next to me, I'm so focused on that I'm quite distracted. That's my answer. Okay, so I recorded myself there, and I'll submit that to my teacher. I'll hit submit, and now my teacher has access to that. And I'm going to show you in a couple minutes how you can access that as well. All right, so that's in there. I'll go back to my class here, back to intermediate, and you can see as well that when I drop this into the taught lane, it will disappear from Amir's account. I'll refresh, and it's gone. And now it lives in past. So he can go back, Amir, and see these at any time and redo them in the future, but they're out of the way. All he has to focus on is this one thing here. And if I want to leave some details or some notes or some preferences, I can set a due date by just clicking on that card and say that I want this done by the 16th. And I can leave a note saying, please don't do the last 2 tasks. We will do them in class. Something like that. I could just leave a note to my students, hit save. And again, next time Amir comes back here, there's a due date right there. And here's the note to my student right there. So really simple, really easy way to assign stuff to your students. And as well, I'm just going to move this study pack over here as well, because I wanted to show you how easy it is to assign like 6 lessons all at once. So let's go back to this class. There it is, the study pack. And when Amir clicks into it, he's got 6 different lessons right there, just like that. But maybe I want to release these lessons one at a time. So I'll go ahead and do that. Lise, by the way, if you're wanting to come on stage in 2 minutes, give me a few more minutes, please. Let's go till like 3 minutes before. Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn some of these off. And you can see when my student comes back here, he's only going to see that one lesson. So you can sort of release lessons 1 week at a time, one by one within a study pack as well. So lots of fun things that you can do there. Okay, as well, I'm going to go over to this grade feed here. You see this little, oh, I shouldn't have clicked that just yet, but you see this little icon up here, a little red dot and a little inbox. We've made it easy so that when there are open-ended questions, things that require your attention, your feedback, that you find them all in one spot, because it's hard sometimes looking around for all the submissions. So anything that is not like a true-false question or a multiple choice that gets auto-graded anyways, but things that you need to actually put some attention on, you can find them up here in the grade feed. You can either click directly there from within a class, or you can click up here, which will take you to all your classes assignments. So these are some things that have been submitted. You remember that the audio player was submitted, or the audio question was submitted a minute ago. This is what I recorded. I think it is almost the same, actually. Sometimes when I'm talking to the person next to me, I'm so focused. Okay, so you get the idea. So you can listen back to your students. And I didn't think he did a great job there. So I'm going to give, he did okay. I'm going to give him like 80% here. So I can give like a star rating or an 80%. And I can leave a comment here. I can say, great job. But I don't know what I'm actually going to say, but just imagine that I typed something there. I could record something back to my students right here and leave an audio feedback back. And I hit send, and it's just out of the way. So it's gone just like that. And then this was an open-ended question where she submitted a response. There's some spelling mistakes in there. I could leave a comment, give a grade. But very quickly, you can sort of get through and try to get to inbox 0 for your grading and see it all in one place. It makes the process of grading a little bit more enjoyable. Okay, so that is some of Ellii. I'll just show you very quickly one last thing. I'm not going to go into detail, but under, oops, let me just click back to here. Under materials, you'll see flashcards and videos. This is sort of a media gallery, and you can find a whole bunch of different flashcards here, flashcard sections that you could present interactively to your students, or print and photocopy and make picture dictionaries or games. And then we've also got videos as well that you can assign to your students at any time. So that same add to class button is there. If I click that, it's going to land right in my student's account. I'll put it right into the teaching lane right away just to save some time. So if I want my student to watch that video, oops, did I complete that? Yeah, I did. Okay. The next time that Amir comes back to that class, there's that video. Where is it? Oh, I clicked it twice somehow. There's that video right there for him to watch on his own from his own device. All right, so do you guys want to try something? I'm going to take a chance here. We've got this new thing that we're working on, and I don't know, we don't know how it's going to go. We really don't. We're working on this tool, and I'm going to try it. It's something that involves everybody participating together. Should we give it a try? Let's see, is everybody saying yes to that? Yes, okay, I got one try, okay. And I've got a few minutes, so I'm going to try to do this as fast as possible. Let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to share a new screen. 1 minute, please. Okay. I just need to get to the right page. I'm not going to show how I get there and everything about it, but what we're trying to do here is build just these very simple polls that you can do as warm-ups with your students ahead of any class, or during any class, I should say, not ahead of any class. All right, so you can see that screen there, and you can see that there's a QR code. So if everybody wants to pull out their phones and join with that QR code, so you're going to join in there. We just want a little bit of feedback here because we're going to release this shortly. I see one person there, Tasia, has joined. You just put your phone up to that QR code, or you can just go to ellii.com/play and click 91 or put in the code 91100. Now, again, keep in mind, we did not build this for, how many people are in this session? 380 people. I don't know how it's going to go. Right now, it looks like there are only 20 people in the session. If anybody else wants to join in, I'm going to start this thing pretty quickly. So, oh, actually, you know what? I've got to stop sharing for 1 minute. I'm sorry. I've got to share my whole screen. So that I can also show you what it looks like from a student perspective. Okay, now let's try this here. And what is the number? We might already be crashing here. Just give me 1 minute, everyone, please. ellii.com/play. I think that's the right URL, is it not? There's Eduardo, just 1 second. Eduardo, maybe put the chat in in Basecamp, if you don't mind. I can see it there. He'll tell me if we're having some issues there. Okay, I can't get to it. I'm going to try to start this. It looks like we only have 17 people. So it's, we wanted to do this, but it may have already crashed. So let me just try this anyways, if we can, okay? I'm going to hit start. And this is a poll, just a quick, simple poll, distracted driving. So some of you are engaged in this already. Do you ever text while driving? Can somebody please answer? Can all of you please answer? Okay, you can see these numbers going up, 15, 16, 19 people, 17 out of 19 people. Do you ever text while driving? 29% said yes, 71% said no. That's great to see. I think, 5-6 years ago, it was the opposite. Everybody was texting and driving at least. That number is shrinking a little. I might want to call on the people who said yes, and bring them on stage. We don't have time to do that right now, but that's how you could sort of extend the session. Let's now look at some keywords together. So let's start these keywords. Whoops. Pardon me. Let's start some keywords. Okay, do you know these words? So those should show up. Go ahead and answer that. Now, all of you are saying yes. Now, I was actually going to ask for some of you to say no on this, to some of these words. I'm sure you know all of these words, but the idea is for you to not say yes on every one of them so that we can see which ones are more difficult. I'm going to stop the poll there. And then I can see that here, 14 people know GPS, but that's out of 18. So that would mean that 4 people don't know that. And 4 people don't know what daydreaming or multitasking means. So I can click on this and bring it up. It comes right up on your phones as well. That's the definition and the example sentence as well. For those of you who aren't participating right now, this is all coming up on everybody's phones. They're on their own devices, and they can see these things in real time. So you're pushing stuff right to your students. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and click one more time to one more question. All right, adjusting a GPS while driving is dangerous. Agree or disagree? Okay, everybody's agreeing, but we might want to focus on the people that are disagreeing, so I can bring that up on stage as well. I know Lise wants to get on stage with me right now to do the draw, so I'm going to do just 20 more seconds here. I'll just skip ahead. I'm just going to skip ahead to a couple more questions. Okay, and we can go a little deeper, and then we can get into sort of more opinionated things. Which do you think is the primary cause of distracted driving? Go ahead and answer that. Everybody's saying mobile phones. A couple of people are saying adjusting the radio. But again, I can start to sort of focus on one of these things and we can talk about it. I'll just stop that poll. So we're going to start to launch these sort of 5-minute, 7-minute polls that you can do to start off your class as a warm-up or to end your class as sort of a filler. And we've got that coming in the next couple of weeks or so. So please feel free to send your feedback. I have gone way past my time. I was supposed to only end this about 5 minutes ago. Let me bring Lise on if she's there. Lise, if you want to come on, please do. And I'm sorry that I rushed this. It was a very last-minute kind of thing.
That's okay. And I think that was great. Hopefully, I know there weren't that many people of you who got to try it, but hopefully those of you who did saw how fun that was and how fast and interactive it is. So I think that's going to be a great feature when we finally get that launched. Okay. Yes, we have 2 minutes. Let's pull our draw for our winner. And this time in our session, Ben, would you like to model?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. So this is the mug. There's water in it.
Okay, so there you go. Whoever wins this raffle is going to get this beautiful mug. So let's see.
And by the way, sorry, these are all sort of icons from our lessons. So that's the lesson about the metaverse, and this is the lesson about distracted driving right there. So you can get this great mug. Okay,
and so here we go, Ben. Can you read the winner for us, please?
Yes, so the winner of this session is Beata K from Czech Republic. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So reach out to us. Is that right, Lise?
No, we're going to reach out to you. Don't worry. Oh, okay. We know who you are. We're going to reach out to you and organize your prize. Congratulations.
Okay, so we've got to take this all the way to Czech Republic. Not this one. Also.
Excellent. Right. Okay, so make sure you don't forget about the leaderboard points. Join us in the conversation on social media. Make sure you're using our hashtag because we are giving away a 1-year Ellii subscription. All you need to use is our hashtag and tag us, and we'll be selecting one person at the end of the day, as well as a prize for our event attendee survey. So if you haven't done that survey yet, make sure you do. Okay, time for our meet and mingle. Ben is going to be at the presenter table. We didn't have time for any questions, so make sure you head over there, and hopefully he can talk to you a little bit more about our Ellii features.
And I'll be there in like 2 minutes. Like I think I have to go backstage and then I'll be there. Yeah.
Ben will be there in 2 minutes. You can wait at the table for him. All right, coming up next, we have Dr. Charles Brown leading a session on gamified learning. It's going to be great. See you back here in 15 minutes. Ellii,